Today, we're getting into a question I know that has been sitting in the back of your mind. You've been watching your kid lately, and something feels off. Maybe you can't even name it, but you feel it. Today's episode is about that feeling and what to do with it.
We're talking about therapy and counseling for kids and teens, right? A big
Hmm.
question, when to consider it, how to tell if it's time, and how to actually have that conversation without your kid looking at you like, you just asked them, to eat salad for fun.
Yeah, salad can be an emotional trigger for teenagers. But seriously, if you ever wondered whether your child needs more support than you can give alone, you're not failing. You might just be the only parent paying enough attention in the room. Okay, so let's go. Okay, RJ, real talk here. Was therapy ever part of the conversation with Josh and Amanda when they were growing up?
An honest answer here,
Hmm.
not early enough, right? Back then, therapy felt like something, you used when it was seriously broken, right? Not like
Right,
you only call the plumber, kind of like you only call the plumber when pipes were already flooding in the kitchen, right?
right, right. And meanwhile, the slow drip in the wall is just going,
Yeah, exactly, right? What I know now is that therapy isn't a last resort, right? It's a tool.
yep,
We take our kids to the dentist before their teeth fall out. We buy
yep.
them knee pads before they crash their bike, right? Mental
Hmm.
health deserves that same proactive energy.
Yeah, for sure. So if you're listening to this and thinking, my kid doesn't need therapy, nothing is that bad. I want to I want to gently challenge that. The goal isn't to wait until things are bad. The goal is to give your kid tools before they desperately need them.
And earlier, the earlier they learn this process to handle their emotions and handle hard stuff, the better equipped they are for everyone that or everything that might come next, right? It helps them handle
Yeah,
things.
yeah, for sure, Jay. But you know what? Therapy is like maintenance, right? It's not an emergency repair. You don't have to wait for a crisis to start installing it, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
so let's get a little practical, RJ. Walk me through what it actually looks like in your house because your kids have two very different experiences and they're also a little bit older, right?
hmm Absolutely. Yep. Night and day with Armanda, and she's good with, sharing this. It wasn't dramatic. It was slowly dimming. She went from vibrant and talkative to quiet and withdrawn. Stopped going to, after school events, barely eating at dinner.
Yep.
Things used to light her up, just stopped lighting up.
Oh, that's interesting. That's a really important sign. Losing interest in things they used to love, it even has a clinical name. I can't even pronounce this word. Anhedonia.
I think it's anhedonia.
There you go. That's the word. Tough word for me, I guess. But you don't need you don't need that fancy word, obviously. You just need to notice when your kid stops being who they are or were.
Mhm. And I kept telling myself, right, she's just a teenager. This is normal. 3 months go by. Finally, I made the call. Like 3 months of not being there, right?
Right. And what pushed you over the limit or over the line, RJ?
Look, one day she comes home and she's like, Rob, I'm just tired, right? Not sleepy tired, just tired. And the way she said it, I knew, right? I called the pediatrician in the very next morning.
That's a good call. That's it right there, folks. Trust that moment. Now, Josh was the opposite, right?
Yeah. Look, Josh was complete opposite. He's loud. If Josh was struggling, the whole block knew it, right?
Oh, wow.
Doors slam, arguments, suddenly in trouble at school, none of which, was normal for him at the time. And I kept writing it off as boys being boys.
Hmm. Yep. And
And you
that
know what?
phrase
He
has
still
led.
struggles. He,
Yeah.
he still struggles with that today, so
Oh,
we're
wow.
still
Yep.
working on
Oh, right on. And that phrase has let a lot of struggling kids down. Here's the key with behavioral signs. We're not saying every slam door is a red flag. What we're saying, when the pattern shifts from their baseline, pay attention.
that. Yeah. Josh told me later, years later, Rob, I don't know how to tell you something was wrong. I didn't know how,
Yeah.
I didn't even know what it was. I just felt angry all the time.
Anger is often just sadness with nowhere to go. You can write that down if you
hmm
want.
Yep. Anger is sadness with nowhere to go. It's something internal that this is the outward expression, right?
Yep.
3 weeks in a workshop on that one.
Yep. Yep. Sounds pretty interesting. Well, I'm sure it's worth every minute, RJ. Okay, so here are some signs that we're talking about, both emotional and behavioral. So let's some signs that might be time to reach out. So emotional ones could be persistent sadness or hopelessness lasting more than 2 weeks. The emotional one could be losing interest in things they used to love. So they like to go to the park and all of a sudden they're not going to the park anymore. You know what I mean? Um, Another one would be excessive worry or fear interfering with daily life. There could be some kid at school that normally they thought, they're good friends with, but all of a sudden they become irritating person to them. It's like, what's going on here, right?
Yep,
So that could be an issue too,
yep,
right? Same thing, nobody cares, or I'm a burden, or maybe they say I hate my life. That one's tough
yep.
for
And I'll
sure.
handle the behavioral ones.
Sure, go ahead.
So behavioral would be a sudden drop in grades or, refusing to go to school.
Yep,
Another behavioral one, withdrawal from friends, activities, the slow fade, right?
yep,
Behavioral would be new aggression, defiance, or risky behavior, things out of the normal for this child.
hmm
Another one is changes in eating or sleeping, lasting again several weeks. And I will say, if these things persist for several weeks, it's something you need to pay attention to,
for
right?
sure.
Also, for later teens, usually using substances like vaping, alcohol, and drugs to cope with their feelings. And
Yep,
then any of these would be, um, look, your gut is telling you something's off, and then trust that instinct.
yeah, for sure. Definitely trust your instinct as a parent. It's usually 100% right. Do you agree with that,
Yeah.
RJ? Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely. Listen, something is not right. So address it. Have that
Yep.
conversation, right? Tell me what you're feeling right now. Address it.
hmm
It's as simple as that. That's a good way to start that conversation.
Yep. Fantastic, RJ. Put this title up here. And beyond individual signs, there are life events that almost always benefit from professional support. Divorce or big family changes, losing someone, and yes, that includes pets, moving schools, bullying, and or other end of it. It could be trauma, identity questions, a new diagnosis like ADHD, or learning differences. They aren't signs something's broken. They are signs that your kid could use extra set of hands.
And for parents navigating these conversations around gender or sexuality with their teen, a therapist can be an incredible bridge, right?
Yep,
There are many people who don't know how to address this. They don't even maybe know how to accept that their kid is um, different in their gender identity, right? Which is a big
right.
thing these days. So this is a
Yep,
space where your kid can figure themselves out without fear of disappointing
yep. That's pretty good stuff there, RJ.
anyone.
Okay, so you find out your kid, your kid finds out you're considering therapy for them. What happens now?
Look, one of three things can happen. First, they totally shut down, right? Second, we know the dramatic eye roll, right?
Yep.
Or my personal favorite, I'm not crazy.
Oh God. Yeah. The I'm not crazy one tells you everything about the stigma kids absorb from the world around them. Did Josh ever say that words to you?
Oh, absolutely, word for word, right? And I said, look, I know you're not crazy. I never said that, right? I'm saying that I love you and I want you to have support. There's a difference,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Calmly, which took again everything I have, especially when your kid goes, with that frustration and anger. You want to respond in frustration and anger. But look, there's the point where you need to just send out love, right?
Yep.
I'm here to support you. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely, RJ. So parenting is an extreme sport sometimes. Here's what actually works. Here's how what actually works when kids push back. So I'll just do the first three, you do the second three, RJ.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So when your kid refuses, what will work? Give them control where you can. Let them pick the therapist. Choose in person versus online, and then let them pick the day. Two, set a low
Hmm.
bar first. Just try one session. If you hate it, we'll talk. One session is not a life sentence. Three, normalize it out loud. Share your own experience if you've ever seen a therapist. Kids model what they see.
Hmm. And then four, never use it as a threat, right? If
Yep,
you keep this up, I'm sending you to therapy. That
yep,
makes it feel like punishment, right?
yep. Yeah, for
5,
sure.
don't give up after the first no. Revisit this calmly in a few weeks because again, this is something that's going to continue until you get um it through. So your consistency will send that message. And
Yep.
finally, 6, if they truly won't go, you go, right? A therapist
Yep.
can actually coach you on supporting your child from where you are.
Right on. That's I never thought about that. That's a pretty good
Yeah.
idea.
That last one changes things, right? I learned how
Yep.
to handle Josh through getting counseling. I went and talked to a
Yep.
counselor. She gave me a completely different frame for how to approach him, right? Absolute game changer.
Perfect. So RJ being the hero, he doesn't know it. No, he is. Okay, I've got a joke for you. You ready?
Okay, let's hear it. Do I have a choice, really?
Well, we're in the show, so no, you don't. Why did the teenager go to therapy?
Why?
Because they had too many issues and not enough tissues.
All right, that's not too bad.
All right, 3 weeks in the workshop. Is that worth it? Okay, before we close here, guys, we're gonna talk about the serious end of the spectrum because sometimes the conversation isn't should I consider. Sometimes it is I need help right now.
Yeah, and this part matters, right?
Yep, for sure. If your child's talking about hurting themselves, saying they don't want to be here, making any attempt to do self harm, don't wait for a scheduled appointment. Do not Google it at midnight alone.
hmm And I'm going to say there's plenty of support out there, right?
Yep,
Depending on the situation, there's suicide hotlines, crisis lifelines. You know, there's text, there's short form text numbers for you to contact. If your child is in immediate danger, of course, go to the ER or call 911. But don't forget, look, Google it. I know we say don't Google it at midnight. Wait till the daytime. But you're Googling the support lines, right? How to get counseling, not what kind of harm can my child do or things like that. You're looking for the support.
yep, yep, definitely. I know those feel like big actions, but I would rather you feel like you overreacted than the alternative. There's no such thing as overreacting when your child's safety is on the line. Do you agree?
Absolute zero. Absolute.
Yep. And if it's something your gut just shifted when I said that, call someone today. There's a couple numbers you can look up now, right? As RJ mentioned, 911 or the nearest ER if it's like that serious. There's other couple numbers you can call. I'm not sure if they work here in Ontario, but there's
Yeah, that's why I
988.
didn't give them out, but
Yep.
that's yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's 988, and there's a crisis text line as well. So look those up before any incidents happen. If you're already in that situation, definitely call 911. I'm sure there's some ones you can find online, right, RJ?
I would say 911 is for emergencies, right? So, if you feel that it's an immediate emergency, like your child might harm someone or you or themselves, right? Yes,
Yep.
call 911. But again, there are many crisis hotlines out there where if your child won't speak to somebody, you can speak to them to get guidance on the next steps.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And if you ever watch TV, sometimes they have actual commercials for this too. No, because mental
Yeah, so
health
you
is a
might have
big
the number
deal,
written
big
down somewhere.
important.
Yeah.
Yep, it's important these days. All right, fam, let's land this. And here is what I need you to walk away with today.
Look, you don't have to wait for a crisis. The signs can be emotional, behavioral, or triggered by any life event.
Yep. If your kid pushes back, give them control, stay consistent, and if needed, start going by yourself to counseling.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're in crisis territory, like I said, use those numbers, like I said.
Yep. Perfect. Thanks, RJ. And this is asking for help is not a failure. It's parenting with your whole heart.
Yeah. Look, I had two kids who have different needs at different times, right? What they
Yep.
had in common was parents who showed up. That's what matters.
That's right. That's everything. If this episode helped you, share it with a parent who needs it or who needs to hear it. You can find us at parentsupportcircle.com. Join the community, join the newsletter, and come talk to us. I read everything that you guys send to me. And if you're watching on YouTube today, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell so that you when we go live next week, you can get the notification. And if you're watching on Facebook, leave a comment. If this has helped you in any
Yeah.
way, or if you have other questions you want us to address, I would love to hear from you. All right, guys.
Yeah.
So that's it for this
So
episode. I hope you are doing better. You are doing better than you think. We'll see you next week. Thank you.
see you next week.